Hi guys, welcome to my most tutorials. We are continuing with evolution. Today we are looking at human evolution. Okay, we have had our time where we talked of natural selections, and we also talked of new species arising among the same species of the same species of animals. So now, when we are talking of natural selection, we simply said the characteristics of organisms can actually change over a period of time due to the changing environmental conditions, right? When we're talking of new species can actually arise, we are saying when a group of organisms change so much that they can no longer reproduce with their original species, that we just explained previously, and say it's speciation, where we say now it can't, the new species that we have produced over time, they can no longer reproduce with the original species that we had, right? So with that being said, now this natural selection and speciation, we can also, it can, in fact the scientist has used it to explain how humans have evolved, right? So they've identified trends in human evolution by comparing humans to other primates in terms of similarity and differences. And so we are going to look at the differences to point to the existence of different species. Also, we are going to be looking at the similarities to point to a possible common ancestor. And as for humans, we are going to compare them to what? To Homo sapiens, right? And African apes. Okay, so similarities between humans, us, we are Homo sapiens, and then the African apes. So now this robotic like diagram is just showing us characteristics of humans that are actually similar to those of African apes, right? So number one, large brain. Okay, so it's very important that you take note of this. And large brain, eyes in front, and we've got freely rotating arms, long upper arms, and we've got rotation around elbow joints. We have got bare fingertips or nails instead of claws, and we've got opposable thumb. Okay, and then we have an upright posture. Those are what? The similarities, right? So make sure you master these similarities between us humans and the African apes. Okay, those are the similarities. What about the differences now? The differences between the Homo sapiens, which is us human beings, and the African apes. So here, let's look at the cranium. You know, we said humans have got a large cranium or a large brain, right? But the African apes, they actually have a smaller brain. Broad ridges are not well developed in Homo sapiens, but in African apes, they are actually well developed. When you look at the spine of a human being, it's more curved. It's forming an S-like. But then the one of an African ape is forming a C-shape. We've got the pelvic girdle. It's short and having a wide pelvis. For African apes, it's long and there's a narrow pelvis, right? And then for I hope you guys were seeing. I can see my phone had tilted. I was saying the cranium, we are simply looking at the brain. We are saying the humans have got a larger cranium. The African apes is smaller. We have got the broad ridges. They are not well developed in Homo sapiens, but then they are well developed in apes. And then the spine, it's S-shaped in humans and C-shaped in what? In African apes. The pelvic girdle, we said, is very short and it's a wide one. But then for African apes, it's long and very narrow. We have got, when we look at the canine teeth, our Homo sapiens, us as humans, we've got smaller canine teeth. but the African apes, they actually have large, very large canine teeth. When we look at the palate shape, we've got small and semicircular, but then the palate for African ape, it's actually long and rectangular. So this tip, we just need to cram it, right? For jaws, our jaws are very small, and they are also less protruding jaws. But then there are more protruding jaws to the on the apes, and they've got large jaws. And then when we look at the cranial ridges, we don't have any cranial ridge, but the African apes actually have cranial ridges across the top of the cranium, right? And then the foramen magnum in a forward position, but then the one for African apes is actually in a backward position, right? So these are very important differences that you guys need to master. A difference between a human being and a Homo sapien. Okay, I'm sure you can see. All right, the cranium size. Then we have got a large cranium, broad ridges there, they are not fully developed. Foramen magnum position is there, and the crania, the canine size, they are smaller. And when it was an ape, the canines were going to be very, very big. The broad ridges were going to be fully developed, right? And the canine region, their canine cranium size is going to be smaller than that of a human being. Okay, so now I'm sure you can see from this diagram how evolution has been taking place. I'm sure you can see the spinal cord. The one for a Homo sapien, it's an S-like, but the one for an African ape is like a C-like. Okay, I'm sure you can see this ridge, on the follow ridge there, it's fully developed for an African ape, but then for a Homo sapien, it's not fully developed. I'm sure you can see there. So that's it on the similarities and differences between these Homo sapiens and the African apes. Just know a Homo sapien is a human being, right? It's you and me. And then African apes, it's like I'm a gorilla. It's like the gorillas, okay? So when given the skulls, you should be able to differentiate the two. You should be able to identify the one for a Homo sapien and the one for an African ape.